Hello, fifth grade. We're going to go ahead and get started on our math lesson for today. We are on lesson 133, so that means you need to go ahead and complete speed drill 133 today, and then go ahead and get started on this lesson with me. We are on page 239 today, 239 and 240. You will be completing all of the problems. Yes, all of the problems, including the green. At this point, you guys are not touching base inside your math homework folder. We are just doing the problems that are listed in our book. So we are going ahead and starting with finding a part of a whole. Now, with finding a part of a whole, I want to go ahead and go over an example first. The same kind of example that we used yesterday, which was if I had a $10 bill, right, and I also had a $5 bill, what part of the $5 bill would be out of the $10 bill? Well, pretty easy, right? We know that if I have two fives, then I would have a 10. So if I only had one 5, I would have half of a 10, right? That's finding a part of a whole. Well, that's the same exact thing you're going to be doing here with a little bit more detail in these word problems. So I'm going to go ahead and do these word problems with you on finding a part of a whole, and then we're going to go ahead and let you guys do some on your own. So we have page, again, 239, and we are at problem 1A. So it says, Brian volunteered to help Mr. Jackson work in the garden over the summer. He worked for a total of 27 hours. Mr. Jackson insisted on paying Brian for 9 hours. And for what part of the time did he pay him for? Well, interesting thing. I don't know. He had 27 hours he worked, but he only paid him for 9. I don't know about you, but I'd be a little upset with Mr. Jackson. So let's find out about how much of the part out of the whole did he pay him. So we start by having to put the lesser number on top of the greater number in a fraction. That's how we find out finding the part of a whole. We end up taking the lesser number given and we put it as our numerator, and then our larger number as our denominator. So we would have he paid him for 9 out of 27, right, hours. But I need you to also make sure that you are reducing this. We need to reduce all fractions down to the lowest term. So we would take a look at this and know that 9 also goes into 9 and it goes into 27. So we would reduce by saying 9 divided by 9 is 1 and 27 divided by 9 is 3. So he only paid him 1/3 of the time paid. Well, I think Brian might be a little upset with that, right? But he went ahead and only paid him 1/3 of the amount that he was actually owed. So make sure you write your unit measurement in and go ahead and fill this into your book. We're going to go ahead and continue with 1B. Okay, so we have now Mr. Jackson had 48 rows in his garden. He planted peas in 6 of the rows. What part of the garden was planted in peas? So we have 48, right? And he planted how many? 6, right? So now what we need to do is we need to reduce, right? We need to find out by looking at that, I know that 6 can go into 48, which is 8 times. 6 divided by 1 is 1. So we know that he planted 1/8 of the rows in peas, right? So 1/8 of all of his rows were in peas. So his garden probably had a lot of other things in it, but only 1/8 of it was in peas. So go ahead and fill that in. Okay, we also have C, 1C. Mr. Jackson gathered 32 bushels of apples. He sold 30 bushels of them. What part of the apples did he sell? Well, do the same thing. We know that he had 32 bushels to sell, and he sold 30 bushels. So now I have to take a look at that problem, and I also have to reduce. So how would I do that? I would go ahead and look and see which number I think could do reduce. Well, I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to think of my divisibility rules, and I'm going to look at 0 and 2. And you know I always say start off with 2 and work your way up. I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 2 and see what I get. So 30 divided by 2 equals 15. And 32 divided by 2, it's only one more, would be 16. So that means that he sold 15/16 of apples, or bushels of apples sold. Okay? Don't forget to put your unit measurement in there and make sure that you have that on your page. So, how do we feel about finding a part of a whole? Well, why don't you guys go ahead and do 2A on your own and see if you come up with the answer I'm going to give you shortly. So what you should have done, and if you need more time, press pause. But what you should have done is you would have read 12 inches is part of 144 inches. Okay, what part, right? So we would say 12 over 144, right? And then, let me make that a little bit darker for you. Okay, then I would take a look at my number, and if you guys are good at 12s, awesome. I'm not that great at 12s, but by taking a look at this, I kind of already know that 12 divided by 12 equals 1, and 12 divided by 12 equals 12. So I know that 12 inches is 1/12 of 44 inches, and that's what you should have gotten for 2A. If you've got that, great. I think you're on your right track. Just remember, the lesser number is your numerator, the larger number is your denominator, and then go ahead and reduce and make sure you get that done. Okay, also, I did want to recap our comparing from yesterday because 3A through J is the comparing. Don't forget, this is where you're finding, using your division, and you're dividing the lesser number into the larger number to get how many times greater or is 1. So if you have 3A, it says 20 is how many times as much as 10? Well, we know that we need to take our lesser number and divide it into our larger. So if I were to put 10 goes into 20, we know that that is 2 times, right? So we know that 20 is 2 times greater than 10. And that was our comparing from yesterday. So hopefully that helps to recap so you can finish your lesson today. Please make sure you complete all the problems. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I do see that there's a pictograph over on number 5. So make sure that you're filling that out properly and that you're also answering your questions correctly. Again, if you have any questions, reach out and enjoy your math lesson for today. I will see you on Monday.